Good morning, YouTubers. T Square here with T Square Talk. Hope everybody's having a great day. Got a great video planned out for you guys. I had actually gotten a phone call today and said, "Hey, I got some bad news for gold for you." I said, "What? What happened? Tell me what's going on." And he said, "Dude, they just figured out how to turn lead into gold." And I said, "What, dude? That's more nonsense." And then I said, "Send me the article so I can check it out." And I checked it out, and as the article confirms, it would seem to be true, but there is a twist to it. So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. Personally, I'm not worrying much. I said, I've heard these stories before. We had, let's see, what did we have for the last big story? We had a fungus in Australia that grows and spits out gold. We had a meteor made pretty much out of nothing but gold. We had huge mega finds, more gold than has ever been found in history, that was just recently found in China. And we have pretty much came to the conclusion that all of that is nonsense and the gold price continues to climb. So we're going to take a look at this story today, and it does involve the particle accelerator. Some people may know what that is, some of you may not. We're going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So they can officially turn lead into gold, it would appear now. But like I said, there's a twist. So if you enjoyed today's video, please help me out by hitting that thumbs up. Leave me a comment. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think this is just another, I'll say, twist to try to convince people that gold is bad and you may not want to invest in it? I get a kick out of it. I'm not too worried by this story either. At first I was like, wonder what it could be. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up, leave me a comment, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed yet. Special thank you goes out to all of our members of the channel. And after this video, be sure to check out some of these other great videos that we do post on a daily basis. So with that being said, let's jump right in right off the bat. Check out the price of silver. Right now, it was kind of interesting. The price of silver up on the day. Why is that interesting? Because gold is getting destroyed right now. Not destroyed in any major terms. I'm not sweating it. However, we are seeing the gold to ratio come down. We currently in overnight trading at midnight East Coast time, 11 o'clock Central time. We got silver trading at $32.82. And, it's up a little bit. Not a whole lot. Not enough to even matter. It's up 14 cents. But what's interesting is as soon as the markets open, we saw gold fall from $3,325, and it just plunged instantly so fast that you can't even see the line. It didn't even register. It just fell instantly all the way down to 32.85, and we're now trading at 32.82. So we did see the gold silver ratio come down. We are sitting at roughly 100 to 1 now. We were up to 102 to 1. However, good things don't last too long, and I say that because I would love to find an opportunity to trade some of my gold for some more silver. But with that being said, we're going to continue on down the line. We got Bitcoin trading at 103,000, down a couple hundred points. Not really down a lot. Claiming to be digital gold. We'll see how long it can hold its position. We have the DXY. Last I looked, trading just over 100. Still just over 100, 100.5. And moving on to the story of the day that we're going to talk a little bit about, and it is Alice detects the conversion of lead into gold at the LHC. Now, some of y'all may not exactly know what this is. I'll be honest, I don't follow much of this. I do know what the particle accelerator is, which I guess is similar to this in nature, if it's not this same thing. However, this is a facility, you can see right here, that basically just spins particles and it just continues to pick up speed as they push it in, and then it just keeps going round and round and round. And particles do slam into other particles. Well, when you read the science behind this, is essentially lead is pretty close to gold in a lot of properties. except one is plentiful and one is not plentiful. One's valuable. It has to do, too, with some atoms and this and that, and I guess it has a couple more neutrons or whatever. I'm not going to get too much into the science of it because I am not a scientist by any means, but it would appear that, yes, they have found it. Now, what I found most interesting is as I read through the article and I got to the very bottom, essentially, of it, I found out 29 pectograms of gold. And I was like, what? What's up? How much gold did they get? 4 experiments in terms of mass, that corresponds to just 29 pectograms. And I was like, well, I've never even heard of a pectogram. I know what a gram is, but I don't know what a pectogram is. And as I had to look up some other stuff, I come up with the formula for a pectogram. This is where it gets funny. So a pectogram compared to grams. So everybody knows what a gram of gold is. Right now we're looking at about $106, $107 per gram. And you essentially have, look at this, thousands, millions, billions, 1 trillion. So 1 trillion pectograms equal a gram. 1 trillion pectograms equals 1 gram. So I want you to think about that for a minute. Let's see if I got a calculator real quick here. I do, but I don't know if I have it pulled up. Let's see here. Boom. It's going to take a second to pull up the calculator, I think. My computer's running slow today. And I don't even know really if it will even calculate this small of a number. So we're talking they basically found 29 out of a trillion. So you would need a trillion, and that's with 4 experiments that they estimated that much gold, or they put together that much gold, I should say. So, I mean, who even knows? I mean, you could probably find more gold than that on the beach in the sand if you had time to sit there and look for it, because we are talking such a fractional number. I'm curious, though, if I divide that by 29 and then multiply it by 4, how many experiments it would take to actually get the amount of gold to equal even a gram. Now, keep in mind, these things use energy, a lot of energy. It's extremely expensive to build, to produce, and we're talking such a fractional amount that I can't even believe this story would even come out, because to me it's nonsense. However, it was a good story that got sent to me. I was pretty happy to essentially look it over and get a good laugh out of it. If I were to take 1 trillion, oh, I'm missing a 0, and divide that by 29. Uh-oh. Tell me I don't have to back that all the way up. There we go. So we would have to do, so they did 4 tests. I would actually have to multiply that by 4 technically, so I could see how many tests I would have to run just to get. You would have to run this test 137.9 billion times to get a gram of gold equal to $106. By no means am I feeling like gold is any way threatened. And yes, it does meet the formula that technically, if they can turn lead into gold, then it's not finite. But this is an extreme stretch for this to even be considered as I guess you can call it a game changer. I didn't think the meteor of gold was going to be a game changer. And what was most interesting is right after the meteor of gold came out, we saw gold price dip and then jump. Right after the story of the huge fine in China, we saw the price of gold dip and then jump. Right after the story of the fungus, we seen gold jump. Now, I'm curious to see how this will play out in the long run. Personally, like I said, I'm not in the least bit worried about it. I'm still stacking. The story came out on May 8th. We'll see if gold dips and then jumps. As of right now, which, I mean, think about it, it's the 11th. That story just came out a couple days ago. It came out on like Thursday or Friday. We're seeing gold dip. In fact, as soon as it opened at 33.25, like I said, and then now it's at 32.81, a $50 drop. Now, does this correspond to each other? Personally, I don't think it does correspond, but it is an interesting factor. I would be extremely curious now to see if we won't see some sort of a huge jump in the next few weeks in gold. And by huge jump, I mean push us back up over that $3,500 range. Personally, I still like gold. I'll be honest. Most recently, when I put my most recent order in, I ended up getting more gold than silver, dollar for dollar. I still like silver. I know I get a lot of comments, hey, you can hold a lot of wealth in one pocket, whereas it will take a pocket of gold to equal a ton of money, whereas a wheelbarrow full of silver to equal a lot of money. My goal is not to have to transport my gold, transport my silver. I don't really think I'm going to have to run with it anytime soon. Could that happen? Of course. I mean, anything could happen, and all of a sudden, you're forced to evacuate or whatever from the position that you're in. However, what I think people need to consider is I'm not planning on staying with silver forever. I'm not going to be, if silver to gold ever did go to that fantasizing 1-to-1 ratio, I probably won't have any silver by that point. Why? Because I think at that point, if it's 1-to-1, I would want every dollar that I've got to flow into gold. Because I think it would have a huge correction, because we do get more silver out of the ground even to this day. If you were to take away all the gold in the world above ground, and you were to take away all the silver in the world above ground, and all you had was the mining of it, then I would be convinced that you would still get more silver than you would gold. For that reason, I will always favor silver to a certain point over gold. However, I do understand that silver is a industrial metal, so it does get used up a lot. Gold does not get really abused and burned and landfilled like silver. However, I'm convinced that as the price climbs in silver, and it will, I believe, climb. This is not financial advice, just my personal opinion. Nobody really knows 100% what's going to happen. However, I'm convinced that as the price does climb on silver, you will have more and more recycling start to take place. And little stories like this are going to pop up all the time on silver, all the time on gold. Anything they can do to convince you to not invest in it. Why? I mean, here's the thing. If you're buying something and you want to get as much as you can, as cheap as you can, what do? You have to somehow convince other people it doesn't have value. You've got to find ways to basically flood the market with the actual resource so you can buy it up at a cheaper price. And that's exactly, I think, what we're seeing right now with gold. They're trying to beat all these negativity articles, and I'm sure this article will essentially push some people to convince them that, okay, it's just a matter of time before they start using this thing to make tons and tons of gold. I mean, maybe, but I'm not confident that it's going to happen anytime soon. And if that's the case, where does the price of lead go? I mean, if you want to play that game, I mean, are they going to start tearing down buildings to turn lead into gold? So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I guess people will be melting down those lead weights. And to my knowledge, I actually think there's a little wet lead balancers on every car tire in America. I vaguely remember my son collecting them at one time, and he was selling them to a guy at the flea market, and he was getting, a nice little pretty penny on them. I mean, because lead is heavy, and he was getting like, I want to say like $1 or $2 a pound, and I mean, he just pulled the stuff out of the scrapyard. and end up turning it into this guy. And this guy would actually melt them down and make, I think, fishing lures out of them or fishing weights. And he made a pretty penny off of doing it. And it was super easy. So who knows? We'll see how that could play out. But, I mean, I don't think for a minute that this story is going to, I think gold and silver is going to continue to, I'm going to say, go up in the long run. In the short run, we could see a little bit of a pullback. We're seeing it now on gold. Gold, like I said, was up to 3,500. We're now under 33. At the end of the day, it's just a buying opportunity. I had someone leave me a comment today. Anytime the price of gold or silver dips, it's just a buying opportunity. And that's exactly how I feel about it. I want to keep stacking because I think ultimately in the end, it's going to make a big difference. Now, today I was actually at church. I went to church. Yesterday I was actually at church. I went to church. I don't often go. I usually just watch it on what do they call it? Zoom. However, I ended up going. I got invited, and so I said, yeah, I'll go. And while I was there, a gentleman came up to me, and he knew me. He's known me for, a good long while. I just don't see him on a regular basis. And he said, hey, I got a question for you. What do you think about this 1-to-1 ratio we could go to on gold to silver, or even 10-to-1? I was watching this YouTuber, and he was talking about, there's a lot of fantasies out there. I mean, to think, though, that silver would ever be equal to gold in monetary price would mean basically the dollar would have had collapsed. It would have to be worth almost nothing. Could that happen? It could. But I don't see that. I'm not banking that my silver is going to be $3,500. And keep in mind, as silver goes up, generally you see gold going up, with an exception of today, where you've got right now gold's down 1.25%, and you've got silver up 0.5%. I mean, that's almost a 2% difference in what's going on in the market, and that could be the start of that gold-silver ratio starting to come back down to the 80-to-1 ratio. We'll see. I think it's still a little too early to tell, but we did see this kind of happening a little bit last week too, because there's a lot of people out there that are saying that they think the gold-silver ratio could go a whole lot higher, and it doesn't have to top out at 100 or 102. We could easily go back up to 125 to 1. Now, personally, I don't think that's likely, only because it's only happened a couple times in history. However, one of the 2 times that it did happen was only about a year and a half back. And so once you realize that, you understand that, okay, maybe it could happen, but is it likely? Generally, I'm going to play the odds. The odds are that we should be going down from here. If we go up, it's only going to make the odds escalate or go higher. You're going to have better odds that eventually you're going to see that ratio come back down. So being early, there's nothing wrong with that in my opinion. I would rather be early to a trade than late and miss out on all the profits or the good deals. So with that being said, I am going to wrap up here. It's not a super long video. I'm trying to bring my video times down a little bit, more in the 15-minute range, just to see if it helps with the view count. If you enjoyed today's video, please take a quick minute, hit that thumbs up. Like I said, it really helps me out. And be sure to check out some of these other great videos. And I have been putting a lot of short clips up. So definitely do not hesitate to check those out. Some of y'all know I do want to get back into traveling and doing other stuff. So I have been casually putting up little clips that may not totally relate to silver and gold. I didn't start out a pure silver and gold channel. I started out, on doing a lot of different topics, and I've thought about going back to that only because I do kind of miss some of that. And just talking about gold and silver, I mean, it gets a little harder. I've had some people say they want to see me go back into cooking and doing the cooking videos. It's a little hard with my kitchen right now, but I do want to get back into some different types of videos. So please be sure to check those out. Hit that thumbs up. Someone left me a great comment that we are getting close to 15,000, and that's absolutely right. We're at 14.8 right now. They emphasize that on you need to watch your health too. You want to be here when we hit 15, and we'd like to have you around when you hit 30. So I'm going to go probably see my doctor this week. And take a look at what we had talked about during the live stream yesterday. I understand chest pains are no joke. I just ain't a big fan of doctors. So with that being said, I thank y'all for watching. I will see you guys again on T Square Talk. Don't forget, check out some of these other great videos, and y'all have a great day. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.